Welcome back. It's the beginner's writing journey from the Story Hive, and I was talking about specialist writing formats. The short story, I told you, my favourite. Now, I think you should try this as an exercise because it's really good to get you going. Writing a short story teaches us to write in a very clean and focused way because we haven't got that much time. We've got a limited word count, only so many pages at our disposal. For me, short stories are, well, they're always under a few thousand words. That's a short story, normally 2,000 words, 4 pages, generally speaking. But for me, it's my favourite medium, and the whole reason behind the Story Hive platform, where we've got hundreds and hundreds of them in audio format, and they're free, remember, to listen to, and we've also got them written in the books. But take a short story idea, that premise and the theme of the story. That's your set-off point. Now, remember the rules. What emotion are we trying to evoke in the reader? Is the core of the central theme intriguing? Will it keep someone's attention? As I keep saying, note down short bullet points, even for a short story. That little map book, because you get a rough idea. The ending, which could change, keeps you focused though, a short story. One very important point. Be original. I know I keep saying it, but I'm going to repeat myself. The ending will change. Remember I told you that. By the time I'm writing from the bullet point, as you get to the end, you might think, hey, I've got a new idea. And that, as a writer, is the beauty of your imagination. Now, in a short story, you can hit them with a real twist or a different take. You can end, well, in any way you like. But that's the joy. And I want to tell you about the joy and thrill of writing. It's relaxing. You start a journey, and you end up in a completely different but wonderful place than you'd maybe first thought. That is being a writer. The thrill of it, the buzz. Now, as I say, I'll keep using examples from the Story Hive you can listen to. The story I wrote, please have a listen to it, called The Flight Attendant. Now, I had one idea for the ending for the story, but as I got to the end, a whole new one occurred. 20 lines before I was finishing, and it was much better, more powerful and more moving, for me anyway. And that shows that being open, not fixed or rigid in your approach, is important to being a writer. Let the story take your imagination. Let it take you with the journey, because it will take the reader as well. Now, don't become too set on only one idea as you write. I had a friend of mine used to say, stop and breathe every now and again. Sit back, close your eyes, breathe and empty your thoughts, just briefly. It's writing as meditation almost. So that's really what I really want to get across in that section. Because the next story I want to talk about, the reason I use them as examples, because I think you'll understand how this all fits together, is another short story in the Story Hive called The Guitar. It's a true story told to me. So I'm like the narrator of someone else's story. Now, think about this. He looked at the gun in his hand, the body on the floor, hearing the sirens rise and fall in the distance, and behind him the open door was banging in the howling storm. It's a pretty cool opening. How did he get there? Where was this place? Do you see? All stories should start, I think, with a short, stabby, get on with it. Create mystery, create interest, get straight to the narrative. Bam! That should grab the reader from the get-go. Now, the guitar story, which we'll talk about in a second, does exactly that. Because I want it to intrigue you from the outset. Now, see what ending you can come up with, and then try a different one. Now, it's always important to keep the energy. Sounds a bit weird, but keep it moving. Remember that thing? Keep the story moving. Don't let the reader down, especially with the ending. I mean, if that's disappointing, it's like, oh. Even a short story is okay because it's short, but if it's a novella or a book, Now, in the true stories section, as I said, the guitar. But remember those opening lines. In my opening lines of that, it should, I think, when you read it or hear it, really get you. Because you're in no doubt, or you think you are, as to what journey you're about to go on. Now remember, go back to those opening lines I just threw you about the guy holding a gun. I mean, that could fit so many genres, couldn't it? But just for fun, here's a very specific opening for you. Once again, making clear the where, the what, the who. The elvish blade gleamed dully in the moonlight. The castle of the Golden Lotus rose up dark and silent as Razard the assassin nodded to his companions. From his back his silver wings unfurled like a whisper, and that night the dragon prince would die, for the world depended on it. Now, that's pretty clear what genre it is likely to be, and it's pretty established in those first few words. It's probably a fantasy story. But you've got a sense of character and place. So there you see, food for thought. Now, the last story I'm going to talk about now is called The Sleeping Crown, and it's in the horror section. Now, remember I said about genres and styles and things, and this is short stories for the time being. What matters to you? What matters to you? Because that should really influence your writing. Many writers got favourite subjects or genres, which I think is great. Again, repeating, got to be original story narrative and an original voice. Now, difficult though it sounds, you shouldn't just rehash things. I keep going on about that, and I'm confessing something. It is a tricky task. I mean, how many murders regularly get solved by clever detectives in thousands of books and TV shows? How many dystopian futures with oppressive regimes are being brought down by plucky heroes or heroines? And don't get me started on supervillains and government conspiracies and buried treasures and vampires. But once you choose the genre, try your best to think, what can I do with it to get the smallest bit of clear water between this stuff and your work? I mean, how different can I make this? As I say, in every short story format and novella, it should come to a satisfying, wrapped up ending if you want. But remember that limited amount of words you get in a short story. So think about it. From ghost to crime to horror to humour, the short story can whiz us into whole new worlds very quickly, given our first lines, and it works well. Now, just to give an example of the horror genre, we can pull people quickly in and then hit them with our creepy or horrifying ending. Again, on the Story Hive, that story I mentioned, The Sleeping Crown in the horror section. Have a listen, because I think it will make you finally squirm. See, I set you up, I drag you in, and then bam, I freak you out. That's horror. Well, that's it for kind of short stories and genre stuff for today. So I'm going to leave you to get on with the short story. Happy writing.